So talofa everyone, and thank you for making the opportunity to be here today. The purpose of this get together is we wanted to just share in terms of how we've been able to get the church united and being able to be here to support, but also to be able to just cooperate with the Ministry of Health. And we're really thankful for the Whaletua, Rebecca Tolefor, who's here today and who has been the backbone to be able to coordinate this from day one. She's been really trying to work with the churches, and we have 25 churches that are coming in today. And today's testing station was the initiative from them, supported by the South Seas Healthcare, but also the Cause Collective. The whole purpose was to make sure that we were testing everyone. We've had a lot of our church members that have tested once or twice, but they've all come back together today as well to make sure that we are able to cover the names and look at the contact tracing and also match the names that attended. Because as you would know, there were 500 that attended, estimate, but also 25 different churches. So there might have been families that only had one that attended and one that didn't. So we've done the safe thing, and that was a Zoom that was done last night with 38 of some of the church leaders, and also acknowledge Reverend Ferretti Tolefor, who's been at the forefront of trying to make sure that we're getting everyone tested, and also with the hope in 2 or 3 weeks' time to do the vaccination. But they were the ones that had spoken to Le Malu Silao to ensure that we built this testing station, but also making sure that we all tested. So we're going to probably in the next few days have around about 900 to 1,000 people, and we've gone sort of the whole church because we think it's important to cover off and to contact trace and to help MOH and also the Ministry of our DHBs to be able to contact trace. It's been a very difficult time for our church leaders, and also through it all and seeing some of the racist remarks, and it has been really unhelpful. But what we've tried to do is stay united, cooperate with the Ministry of Health, but also just make sure that every single person in our church community was cared for. We've been able to work with Silao and South Seas, but also some of our church council through Reverend Sam and the Cause Collective to bring everyone together. We do have our Whaletua here, and she has been doing Facebook Lives on their private page for over a week and a half. The whole message she's been giving to the church is please test. Please go and get your tests. And a lot of them have come back again and have been waiting here since 8:30 this morning because they want to make sure that we stamp out COVID. They have been part of the solution. They attended the Sunday church not knowing that the whole variant was in the community, but they're here to show their unity, to show that they are cooperating with government and working through. I'd like to acknowledge the Associate Minister, Peter Williams-Hill, who was on our Zoom last night, but also working with the MOH staff through Geraldine Clifford. A lot of this collaboration has been important because when we were talking to some of our people, they didn't understand things like what is contact tracing, who's a close contact, secondary, because a lot of our church community were actually English second language. So they're very thankful for South Seas Healthcare with the majority of our staff here that's testing that are Samoan, but also in terms of just caring for them through this tough time, hearing some of the remarks that have been unhelpful. Those racist remarks, we should be better than that. And I think as Aotearoa, we've always stood together on this. And this is why we're here today, to just explain the heart of the church community, but also make sure that everything that we're doing is about elimination of COVID-19. Fatua, would you like to say something? Judith? Yep.
Talofa lava, and I know it's been an overwhelming experience and journey for our church community. I am Judith Tolefor, and I'm one of the preacher's daughter. So just it's like us did. It's been an overwhelming journey for our church community. But it's been amazing at the same time with a lot of help coming from, South Seas, like what Jerome just pretty much said. We are cooperating with, everyone's working together, just coming together as one in unity, because that's what we do. As believers, as Christian believers, that's what we do. We work together, we cooperate, and that's what we're doing at the moment. And it's been an amazing outcome, and it's a good turnout. And we're thankful for God, for this journey that we've been through. We're grateful for all the people that we have here supporting and helping us along the way. So it's just been amazing. But like I said, we are here doing what we're told to do, just like everyone else, really. But, we're just hanging in there, being strong. And so, thank you.
How are you guys feeling then? As a family, I mean. This must have been quite a difficult time for you personally, and also for your dad.
Yeah.
And your mum.
Yeah.
So just, the mum's been working tirelessly for this last few weeks, and it's been heartbreaking for her to hear some of the church community that have, got COVID. And so she's been sort of the central point in all of this. And she's been really important for us to be able to coordinate this. But, I mean, this is the sort of backbone of the church that's been communicating tirelessly since day one.
My name is Rebecca Tolefu. I'm the wife of the leader of our church. As mentioned by Jerome and my daughter Judith, we have responded, we have cooperated from day one. As worshipping on the 15th of August on Sunday, not knowing that in the church amongst the congregation there was an act. We were there just to worship and get together. But my heart goes out to everybody that's got the positive, and to all our church members for their support. So from the bottom of our hearts, we would like to say thank you to everybody that cooperated and their prayers, and especially the support from our churches from all over, from the Samoan Assembly of God in New Zealand, worldwide. So we'd like to thank everybody, and our heart goes out to everybody that's got.
Rebecca, what's your message now to other people in New Zealand? I mean, there's been some flack that's been passed out, but ultimately this was something no one could have foreseen. This could have happened to any member of society, any church group in New Zealand. What do you have to say to those people who have been quick to criticise, accuse, or make stuff up?
God bless you all.
Rebecca, you and Jerome mentioned some of the remarks. Often you'll hear some hotheads will speak out to say bad things, but do you think this is, how widespread has these remarks been? Where are they coming from?
I think for us, we're trying to focus on, just really getting our community to be tested. In terms of the remarks, you can never control what that and where it comes from. You would hope that Aotearoa is a mature society where there is only a minority that have that opinion. But I think for us, our core focus is the care for the church community, but also to get everyone tested and to keep Aotearoa safe, because we are concerned about the inconsistencies where for what might have been patient A was from Devonport, and they were seen as a legend for testing, but yet a church community who weren't aware of the variant we're then accused of, not cooperating and also not being collaborative. But we have to remember English second language. When you're getting a phone call, even in terms of this time during lockdown, a lot of our families are on prepaid phones and they don't have Wi-Fi access. So in terms of being able to access, in terms of the severity and how fast this is growing, a lot of our community are not connected to that. So what we ask is that people understand, even in terms, that's why we acknowledge South Seas and also the Cause Collective, because we had to approach it in a cultural response, but also liaise with our government, with MOH and the Ministry of Health team to ensure that we were getting everyone here. People weren't resistant to get tested. And a lot of our church community have actually tested once or twice, but they've come back to ensure that there isn't any question that everyone has tested. And that narrative also that they haven't cooperated. Let me say we're expecting around 900 to 1,000 people here today. There was only 500 at that church and we couldn't track it. So we're doing the conservative and giving everyone here today and tomorrow.
We did hear that for some time the community was saying to the government, please use our churches, use our community groups as a way to get in touch with our people. But were they listening?
I think the government have tried their best to work in terms of the systems. As we always, through this whole sort of crazy, a lot of us, this is we haven't tested this in terms of, we have had our first lockdown. I think in terms of vaccine and also testing, the government's tried their best to reach us. And I know Minister Aupito has reached out many times to the church to see if there's anything that he can support with. I think throughout the time there's just been a lot of sort of communication breakdown, but we wanted just to be very clear today that the church has been fully cooperative and have tried to also ensure that everyone was tested, but also we needed to care for our church community. A lot of them have been waiting here since 8:30 this morning, and they'll continue to wait because Reverend Tolefoa and also the Whalatua, Rebecca, have done an amazing job to bring them all back here today, because we don't want to be the people that are accused of keeping the lockdown, because let me tell you that they've been more than cooperative in trying to support the services. And I think we're all in one spirit when we say we want this eliminated and we want to move on. We want to get out of lockdown, and we don't want to be using our church as an excuse for that anymore.
Rebecca, this must be great for you to see this turnout, testament to your community and their willingness to get behind this. Going forward in Delta, would you like to see a greater role of Pacific churches involved in this type of thing? Because previously, I think some churches, there hasn't been that straight approach. I mean, you guys have organised this yourself. I know you've talked to the ministry. The ministry hasn't organised this. You guys have. So, what's your message about that, Rebecca? I mean, would you like to see a more proactive response from the ministry to involve people and communities like yours?
Yes, definitely. We want that.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's why I thank the South Sea, and brother here, Mika and Dan, for their support, because they were the ones that approached us in a way that I could get all the community and our church community together.
The Pacific Health Provider South Seas and the Cause Collective have been a real tool or a conduit to be able to bring our community together. And so there are other ways and systems in terms of us being able to work together with government. But with this, it's not either, it's everything. All options really, when we're talking about trying to get to community, a lot of our communities, as I've mentioned, are English second language. Some don't have, they have prepaid phones or Wi-Fi. So we have to use every channel. So, and I think with the systems that the government have created, they've tried their best. But we've been able to work with the South Seas Healthcare, and they've been great in terms of being able to work with us, but also the Ministers' Network, which is being driven by the Cause Collective, that has been able to help us get this turnout here today.
Tell us about, there's a lot of people here. What's the vibe you're picking up, Judith and Rebecca, from the people who visited the church that day? How are they feeling? Is there a level of concern or anxiety or confusion, or do you think we're getting past that?
Oh,
Ko
sorry.
sa pekere whiakalia. Yeah. The church is resilient.
Yeah.
The church is united, and the church wants to do all it can to test, and also in a couple of weeks they would all like to do the vaccine together, and this is something that Lemalu from South Seas has spoken about in terms of doing the vaccine together
Yep.
and being able to, as a community, stamp it out in their church community forever.
Obviously, racism is rampant in New Zealand. Do you think the government will handle the situation any differently?
I think the government's tried their best. I think there were some narratives from certain people that fueled it, and I don't think that was the DG or the Prime Minister. They've been very caring in this whole approach, and have also reached through their government ministers. But there were a couple of things that I think fueled the narrative, and it was unhelpful for us. And being able to sit in our houses and see that been spoken about,
Would you say, would you be willing to say where those voices were, who they were?
I think we all know, and I think for us, we're not here to point fingers. I think our main thing is we want you to show the intention of who's being here, because it's a very difficult time for all of us, and understand also some people's opinion. But we want to see the best in Aotearoa. We want to see the best in our people.
So, what would be a better way to, in these types of situations?
Well, our health providers, Pacific health providers, like Pacific for Pacific, and being able to reach even ethnic specific. We're not looking for a new way in for some. It's about some of our language barriers and being able to connect with our community as well.
Jerome, what do you know about the possible link from the Crown Plaza to the church community? Have you been given any insights into that scenario?
Yeah, unfortunately, what we're doing is we're working day by day at the moment. We don't know anything about that, and to be honest, we haven't even been able to connect with media. We just, unfortunately, the Whatua has been getting calls from people that have heard about it, but we haven't paid too much attention to
And
it.
Rebecca, going forward, based on this, what you've organised here, which is incredible, what's your message to the Health Ministry going forward in terms of communications and being proactive? Just with your communities.
I guess,
Nasi o kumanga ia. Working together, and be able to communicate in every way.
That needs improvement, you think?
Yeah, definitely. And the way you approach people, because it's like, as I said, we had a service and we didn't know that it was in there. But the way we were approached is like a demanding sort of, not knowing what's going on.
Who was demanding?
Oh, yeah. Like we said, with all the racist comments and that, I guess we don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to
That
say.
demanding tone wasn't helpful.
No.
You had so many members. from
Definitely
different
not
churches,
helpful.
et cetera, right?
So, just any final questions before we finish?
Our background is our understanding.
Yeah.
When you talk about the churches and the communities, how many churches actually are being represented?
Yeah, this will fit.
So in the church community, there is 27 churches in Auckland, and so the churches go from West Auckland, Central to South Auckland, but there's 27 churches, and hence why you see there's a lot of people that'll be here and tomorrow, but they've been classed as close contacts, and because the system haven't been able to pick that up, the whole church community is coming here.
Communication between the Assembly of God and the churches representing other Pacific communities?
Yes, there is, and there's a lot of solidarity as well. So they have actually reached out, and even like in terms of the churches network as well, with our church ministers. Tuala is part of South Seas, who runs sort of the church ministry as well. So our church always, we galvanise in these things. We
Sam
become
was good
united,
too.
and also we don't look at wanting to alienate.
And is there any message, I mean, maybe it's Tuala who could answer this, but I mean, just looking at, I mean, we know that Pacifica people are underrepresented when it comes to the vaccine. That's fact. And I'm not for a moment suggesting that the community is unwilling to get that vaccination. But I wonder whether the communication strategy around that part of the outbreak has been good enough.
I think there's definitely desire for us to ramp up the church vaccination
Definitely,
strategy, and we'll be working with government in the next few weeks to see how we can be helpful as well, and in terms of being able to coordinate our church communities. I mean, people don't realise there's actually 3 different parts of Samoan AOG, and so when you say AOG, it's another church. So yeah, we're going to work with government to look at a church strategy for vaccines.
To improve the situation.
Yes. Yep.
Because it hasn't been good enough so far.
Oh, I think it can be done better. Let's relative to where we've been in the last few years, and also in terms of COVID with New Zealand, I think we can be thankful. We were able to be part of a different team, but yeah, I think we can do better. There's always a way to improve. We're never there.
Yeah. Just to add on to the question, as you can see today, the positive turnout. Yeah. Well, thank you. Just to add on to the questions, with the positive vibe, as you can see with the long queue outside, there's a lot of Pacifica Samoan community as well, and other ethnic groups are now turning up. And with South Seas, the vaccination site in Otara is now ramped up, and we've seen a lot of positive turnout from the Pacific community also supporting, so that we could increase and look in a way that we could solve that issue as well. Yeah, thank you.
Mala sifa. Thank you so much, everyone, for
Thank
being
you.
here. Any
Thank
sort
you.
of closing thing? We're all good? Going once, going twice? Thank you very much.
Lola,
you.
lola, lola.